Wall Street Journal tech columnist Dan Gallagher joins us now to break down what we should be looking for. Dan, great to have you with us. They need an anchor investor, is what you say.
Well, I think Reddit proposes it's an interesting possibility because they grew their revenue in the most recent quarter, swung an operating profit, trimmed their cash burn. But overall, on an annual basis, they're still losing money and burning cash. And they're a way smaller social network, even than compared to Pinterest and Snap, and extremely smaller compared to like Facebook and Instagram. So I think there's going to be a lot of questions about like what their growth prospects are, their path to profitability, and I think that's going to be the main focus.
Dan, when I look at the stock, when it comes out, should I look at it, everything you just said, talking about Snap, and Snap was, I guess, 6 times or 4 times the valuation of this when they came out. Should I look at this as a proxy of risk on in the markets? Can I make that case, or am I being too bold?
I think there's some risk involved, definitely. I mean, this is still a pretty subscale social platform. However, there is a case to be made that a niche social media audience can still be a profitable one. But they've not shown that profit on an annual basis, and I think and we've seen like with some of the recent IPOs, the last major IPOs were about 6 months ago, Instacart, Klaviyo, Arm, and 2 of the 3 of those haven't performed as well because they've also continued to struggle on what they've been showing. So I don't see Reddit necessarily as a home run right now for the IPO.
Dan, thanks for joining us. How about some of what seems to me a conflict between the Reddit that can exist in the world as a private company and the Reddit that's going to be under a very different set of rules as a public company, not only in terms of disclosures, but in terms of, my guess is real, true governance dynamics look, what do I know? I just know that this is a case where between a user base and even how they've invited some of their loyal users and contributors to be part of this IPO, there are some questions here.
There's definitely ones, and they're in a unique position because they're also known for having this, kind of freewheeling and sometimes unruly base of very passionate users, and they want to include those users in the IPO. But we've also seen reports that at least some small set of those users are trying to rebel, maybe short the stock because they oppose certain things the company's doing. And Reddit has to draw a fine line here because they have to keep their users engaged, especially the half of their user base that's considered logged in and the most valuable ones. They need to keep that and grow that and grow the business while not turning off those users. So it's a really fine line they have to walk.
The valuation, I think, in the summer of 21-ish was, I think, a little north of $10 billion. If they come out mid-range, I think it's $6.5 billion. What's sort of the level that this is a very disappointing offering in your mind?
Well, I think I would expect it to be lower than what they saw. I mean, if you recall, in the middle of 2021, the markets were actually, I think, maybe even more frothy than they are now, even though it may not seem that way when we look at stocks like NVIDIA and such. Because the valuation, especially on internet stocks, was actually higher then. We hadn't had that big correction that we saw in 2022. And in that time, Reddit's business has grown substantially. And like I said, they've started to show improvements in their cash burn and such. But I think if they tried to go out at a premium to that number that was kind of assigned in a more frothy time, I think that would have been a problem.